Saw X is like the best one. I'm gonna spoil it right here, right now. This is the first, like, what, 5 seconds of the video? I don't care. Saw X is probably like the best one.
Thank you, everybody.
Don't get me wrong, I love the original Saw movie. I'm not a Neanderthal or a Neander Saw. That was a good one. But I'm not gonna lie to you. The original Saw movie is a low-budgeted horror movie, okay? It's good. It's fun, it's engaging, but the twist is fucking stupid and doesn't make sense. Even in context of the rest of the series, the twist of the first one barely makes any fucking sense. Jigsaw hasn't put himself in the middle of a trap where he can't watch at all since the first one. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little worked up right now. But the first Saw has always been collectively seen as the best one because it did its best with all the restraints it had. All of us Saw heads agree that the original Saw movie ain't the best movie to exist. The only other Saw movie I would consider like the best of the series before Saw X would probably be like Saw 6 or like Saw 2, right? And even those ones have their fair share of bad acting, bad writing, and dumb twists, except Saw 2. I like Saw 2's twist. That's a really good twist. And if you disagree with me, you're wrong and I don't care. But even the best Saw movie isn't comparable to like the best Ari Aster movie, Midsummer. Again, I'm right, you're wrong, shut up. And that's something that's always surprised me about the Saw movies, because they could obviously do something way more character driven and way more interesting with the character of John Kramer. But for some reason, the Saw franchise could never just capitalize on the best part of every single movie. And let's not lie here, right? It's not because any of the writers did a good job. It's because Tobin Bell wanted to get Jigsaw right.
My job is to bring humanity to John Kramer.
I don't know why Tobin Bell loves this fucking character so much, but he does. Tobin Bell gives such a committed performance that it basically makes you almost want to side with him. You're like, this dude is so fucking passionate about what he believes in, he can't be wrong. Can he? Yes. He was wrong multiple times. And if you didn't know, I'm a big Saw fan, so I have been keeping up with all of the recent Saw movies. I saw Jigsaw in theaters. That was my first Saw movie ever to see in theaters. I also saw Spiral in theaters, and I was just a little bit disappointed. I was disappointed in both of those movies for different reasons. I feel like Jigsaw didn't do anything different, even though it tried to convince you that it was doing something different and new. It was just your standard boring fucking Saw movie. And low-key, I think it's the worst of the franchise. Here's my ranking list. And Spiral wasn't as much of a letdown, especially with the movie's structure. Getting rid of the trap plot, cop plot, fucking dynamic that is in literally 8 movies, it was a breath of fresh air, right? How did they do it though? They merged the plots. And I'm sorry, a good detective procedural can get me going sometimes, and I could get into it. I'm a fan of 7, but I don't want to watch 7 but starring Chris Rock. So needless to say, going into Saw X, I was very pessimistic, especially as the news broke that it is going to take place in between Saw 1 and 2, because that is one of my biggest pet peeves with this fucking franchise. It always wants to go back and just add something that doesn't fucking change anything. And to be fair, Saw X does add stuff that doesn't change anything. I thought this was going to be another formulaic, boring fucking Saw movie with the Mexican yellow filter on. That's literally what I thought it was going to be. I thought they were going to show off maybe another apprentice, or maybe even bring back the Jigsaw guy and be like, oh, this is the twist of the movie, is that Amanda actually knew about the Jigsaw guy. Oh. But color me surprised. This movie is fucking great. Not only as a Saw movie, but as just a movie. Does it still have some of the, I'll call it charm, of the original Saw movies? Yes. There are characters that are basically fucking, they could have just put up a piece of cardboard. Some writing was just bad. There's also some lines where like I can't tell if I'm supposed to be laughing with the movie or am I supposed to be laughing at it. I don't have a fucking clue. But for every one moment where I was unsure of the filmmaker's ability to make like a competent movie, they would cut back to John Kramer. But now that I got my opening thoughts about the Saw franchise and a little bit about Saw X out of the way, we're entering the spoiler zone. So if you haven't seen this fucking movie, leave, eat dirt, watch at your own risk, because dude, how much I fucking Jigsaw this movie. The first thing you see from this movie is Jigsaw. Very intentional, obvi. Something I just noticed because I really like that little, it's like a little chef's kiss, you know? But he was undergoing some treatment for his cancer because he has cancer. John has cancer, if you didn't know. He goes to a meeting with his doctor where his doctor's like, hey, yo, accept the fact you're gonna die, Kramer, all right? Because you're gonna die. I don't mean the other Kramer, I mean John. And his doctor gives him like a note being like, go to this fucking support group, which I thought was interesting because the cinematic parallels are damning. My ring just fell off.
You want to know the best thing that happened to me after having to cut off my own arm? Is handicapped parking at the damn mall.
This movie's basically calling John like cancer too, and it kind of made me laugh. During this scene with the doctor, he is told that he only has 1 year to live, which, you know, stacks up with Saw 3. It's like you never really think about like the amount of time that passes in between Saw movies, or like how long a Saw movie is in like real time. Like, damn, bro had mad organizational skills. I am like jelly. Also in the scene, I'm pretty sure like the doctor's like, you should retire. And he's like, me thinks I won't, which was like the first indication of the fact that this movie is going to be funny. I don't know when I'm supposed to be laughing with the movie sometimes, or if I'm laughing at the movie other times, but it does make me giggle. You can't hear the line, that's what we call epic bad luck, and sit there straight faced. Like, honestly, you cannot. That's a joke. You're trying to make me laugh. I just find it very interesting because it reminds me of James Wan's kind of humor. Like, if you've seen Malignant, you get the vibe that Saw X kind of goes for. But after the scene, John Kramer goes to leave the hospital and he runs into like a custodian just in broad daylight stealing from a patient. And when the scene started, I was like, no fucking way. No fucking way this is happening. This is bad. Like, this scene is legitimately bad. And what happens in the scene is also, I hate it. Basically, what happens in this scene is John Kramer sees this guy stealing from a patient. He's literally like giggling and being like, fuck yeah, score, as he's like looking through this dude's shit. When John sees this, he like envisions the trap from the poster. Yeah, that was make-believe. Like, this movie started off on the wrong foot for me. Because I don't know about you, but I fucking hate fake out deaths, right? And lucky for me, unlike some other franchises, Saw has basically none. Actually, it has one. And now it has two. And it still pissed me off because they like hyped up this trap through all of the marketing, and it's literally a throwaway trap that doesn't even happen in real life. It's the trap that John Kramer goes, I gotta think about what I'm actually doing, man. Am I doing the right thing? Is torturing people the right thing? I don't know. But it's not real. And it's kind of stupid, and it's kind of dumb, and it made me a little bit angry when I saw it, if I'm being honest. But we cut away from it rather quickly, and we catch up with John as he's out in his life, thinking about signing his will and accepting the fact that he's gonna die. He's sitting all alone at this little table when all of a sudden, one of the guys from his fucking cancer support group named Henry, he's walking around like a brand new puppy.
I call that epic bad luck.
John is like sitting there scratching his head because he's like, I'm pretty sure that dude had terminal cancer. John like catches his attention and Henry explains what happened to him. He went out of the American health system. He goes to this place and he gets like a cocktail of drugs, which is the wording they use throughout the movie, no matter the circumstances. It makes me giggle every time. And he gets the surgery where he had like his tumor removed or something like that. He actually shows John Kramer the scar, which is like fucking huge. But he ultimately says it's worth it and tells John how he can get the procedure done himself, which causes John to go home and do a little bit of web sleuthing. And he finds out who the people behind the experimental treatment are. The lady who's going to be doing the surgery and actually helping people is named Cecilia Pedersen. And she has a dad who is like a Wikipedia guy, you know what I mean? Like, if you clicked on Cecilia, you'll get like a blurb about her, but you would get a blue name that connects you to her dad, and then her dad has like a bunch of shit. So it seems legit enough. The reason why she isn't operating within the US is because big FEMA's trying to shut her down. So she has to resort to doing her operation out of Mexico. And you can't just like give her money for it. You have to basically enter a raffle to get this treatment. So John is like, I'll sign up right now. A few days pass and John Kramer gets a call from Cecilia herself. And she's just like, hey, yo, dude. You're gonna die? Okay, we gotcha. Can you wait like 3 weeks? No! And John can't wait 3 weeks, so she cuts him a deal. She says, hey, John, if you could get 200 thou wow in a big old bag, get that to Mexico by next week, I'll cut out your tumors. For 200 grand, I'll cut out your tumors. John, let's do it. So John says, fuck yeah. He goes down to Mexico, gets 200 thou wow, meets up with his cab driver named Diego, which if you don't know, that's my legal name, but I like to be called Hoovy. So call me Hoovy. And Diego shows him around Mexico City, which is pretty nice, when all of a sudden a van cuts them off. Two armed men step out and they're like, hey, yo, I'm gonna fucking, hey, yo, what's your name, bro? And John Kramer's like, I'm John Kramer. And then they ask him again and he's just like, My name is John. And after that second time, they're like, oh my God, okay, so sorry we have to do this, man. It's just because, you know, a lot of people want to shut our operation down because we're saving lives 200,000 at a time. A little character thing that I noticed in my second viewing of the movie, whenever John has a gun pointed at him, he doesn't react to it because he has cancer. And this was another moment of like comedy that I really enjoyed. After they realize that it's actually John Kramer, they are like so fragile with him. They're like, oh, watch your head. Like they keep him in the dark the whole drive there. And when they show up to the facility, it's just like a really nice mansion. John goes to the door, and he's not greeted by any like formal staff. It's just this chick named Gabriella, who's like super nice, super friendly, doesn't speak any English. She's trying to communicate with John, and she realizes that he's like scared and obviously a little thrown off by the whole situation. John probably thinks he ended up in a copycat trap at this point, but she tries to like soothe him and like put him more at ease. And how she does this is by explaining that Cecilia also saved her life. Gabriella shows him around, shows him pictures of her fucking family, and then shows him to his room where he waits for Cecilia to show up. And when Cecilia does show up, she guides him through what's going to happen to him. She also introduces him to her assistants, Mato and Valentina. And there's also another like patient there who's getting his blood taken out, and his name is Parker. He has lung cancer. Fun fact. So she tells John, after Parker, you're going to get your blood taken out. We're going to make you your cocktail of drugs, and then we're going to put you through an operation. But as soon as you're done with the blood stuff, go hit the hay. Go to your room, buddy pal. But just as John is trying to rest down his weary bones to go to sleep, he gets waken up by a boy, which are a common species in Mexico. The boy's name is Carlos, and Carlos doesn't know any English. But John knows that his little red tricycle is broken. So John gives him a hand, and it's a really nice scene. He also learns a little bit of Spanish. He learns what the word pull is, which is foreshadowing. So remember it. Later the next day is the procedure, which involves John Kramer having to be awake during some of it because it's a noggin surgery or whatever the fuck. So he drifts in and out of consciousness where he's like told to wiggle his fingers or something like that. He does that like once, and then the scene ends, and then he wakes up again. He's in his little bed, has his little bandages on his cute little head, and apparently the surgery was great. After his recovery, John Kramer is told that you're all good, you can leave, which he starts to do, but he has to stop at a liquor place first, not to get drunk. In an earlier scene that I forgot to mention, Gabriella actually offers him a bottle of alcohol, give it to her as a thank you because she was nice. But how did he find this place, you might be asking? He remembered like the sight lines throughout like that beginning chunk during the operation. It's all foreshadowed. You see what John Kramer is later going to use to find the place, which is pretty cool in my opinion. So using the triangulable location, he goes back to the clinic, but nobody's there at all, and all of the pictures are taken down. Wait a fucking minute, that can't be right. So he decides to go into the operating room itself. Everything is just thrown everywhere. When John was slipping in and out of consciousness, he caught a reflection of his own brain. It wasn't his brain, it was a VHS tape. He goes into a mirror, he takes off the bandages, no scar. John flips the frick out, he smashes the bottle of liquor, and he starts to plot his revenge. And after John finds out, we get like a franchise reference, which I didn't know how far they're gonna go with it, but it did make me do one of those. Because he picks up the phone and he says, "Detective, I need help finding somebody." And I don't know about you, in my head, there's only one detective that John J. Kramer knows, and it's Hoffman.
Epic bad luck.
But they didn't have him respond, so I was just like, okay. It was just a little reference. Don't get too fucking rowdy. Nobody else even realized it. And I don't even know how Hoffman would even begin to find Diego, but they end up finding Diego. So John puts him in a trap where there is 2 pipe bombs stuck to his forearm, and all he got to do is cut like underneath them, and just, he'll be all good. He'll be all good. I don't know if you could do that and like survive or like use your hands after that, but surprisingly Diego does it. And another bit of dark humor plays out when John Kramer brings his little first aid toolbox right next to him, and it's like, after he finishes the trap, John daps him up and is like, "Ayo, any more information about the other people that you that you worked for?" And Diego gives up that information. So we cut to Valentina, who is a too. She's like working, doing her job, attracting some men. A guy catches on, and she's like, "Ayo, give me some fucking money, man. I'm a fucking too. Who want to fuck you? Give me money, bro." And the dude is basically like, he thinks, "I'm not gonna pay you." Yeah, there's a little bit of violence in this movie. It's a little bit weirdly out of character for Saw, but ultimately the scene is cut short by Amanda Young, who shows up and knocks out that dude and also kidnaps Valentina. After Valentina gets got, we cut to Matteo, who is actually just a guy who works in a vet. And not only is he just some like janitor for a vet, he's also Gabriella's drug dealer. Man, I thought Gabriella was one of the good ones. They like separate and they get caught when they're one-on-one by themselves. But oh, not everyone. I forgot Cecilia exists. I want to forget Cecilia exists, but you know, she still does at this point in the movie. But yeah, Cecilia is just like in her home. She watches like FNAF security footage and she realizes that the killer's on top of the house. And then they get her got to and she wakes up in the trap. Everyone wakes up in the trap. And may I say, I like the vibes of this trap set. The rest of the movies are like in vacant junk yards, which doesn't make sense because like how much money did John Kramer have and how also is nobody finding out that John Kramer is doing this? But this one makes a little bit more sense because the traps aren't so elaborate that they need their own rooms and conveyor belts. It fits a lot more than the overly built up traps that we've seen in the franchise so far. But anyway, they all wake up in a room. They see that all of their belongings are in this little tray in the middle of them. And then John and Amanda come out and explain why they're there.
You all pretended to cure me.
Even though there are tapes that are in use in the movie, this is the one that John just felt like he had to say by himself, you know what I mean? And it's obvious why they're all there. They literally scammed cancer people. And the theme of this trap is giving somebody the hope that they might escape. A little bit out of character for John, but after their little spiel, they both go into the little box where they watch the trap go down. They try to come up with ideas on how they could get the cart closer to them. I'm pretty sure Matteo throws around the idea of tying their clothes together to use as a rope, which is a little callback, but I'm pretty sure nobody listens to Matteo, so they don't care. But anyway, the game starts. And Valentina is the first one up. Valentina's trap is basically, she has to cut off her own fucking leg and stick a tube into her bone and collect enough bone marrow. Her head is also in like this little box thing tied up against the pole. As soon as the timer's up, cut off her little noggin and she'll die, obviously, because she doesn't have her head anymore. And how much time is she given to do this? 3 minutes.
Let the game begin.
And she does the leg part of it. She cuts it off. She even gets a little bit of bone marrow out. But ultimately, it's not enough, and she gets her head chopped off. Oh my god. You want to tell them what happens next, Gadget?
So basically, Seesaw uses her entrails as a rope to grab the cart from the middle of the room. My name is Gadget.
Yeah, you heard Gadget right, by the way. Diesel cuts into her fucking stomach and uses her lower intestines as a rope to get the fucking cart closer to her so she can call somebody. They kind of just breezed past that in the movie. But Amanda comes down when she sees that, takes the phone out of her hand and goes, bad trap victim. And this is another part that confused me about the movie. They like wait a little bit, but in that waiting period, Parker comes to the compound and he's fucking bashing on that door. He's being like, Cecilia, I want my fucking money. He has like an accent. It made me laugh. So John sits Parker down and he explains to him, all right, buddy pal, if you want to be here, you can be up in the big box with the big boys or trap. You can be in the trap. We can put you in the trap. Either way, you got to play by my fucking rules or you're going to die. And then Parker shuts the fuck up and watches as they start the next trap, baby. They got that third viewer in the chat. They were going crazy. So John tells Amanda to go get Gabriella, but Amanda is hesitant to do so. Despite all of the victims of this movie being paper cutouts of people, Gabriella is the only one that they really try to humanize, and they do it to great effect by using her as a mirror for Amanda in the first movie. She's just somebody who's lost and addicted to drugs and being taken advantage of, kind of like Amanda, which is a very smart way to get the audience to care about her like immediately. But Amanda ends up asking John to skip her for now, and they start Matteo instead. Matteo's trap is brain surgery theme. He has to cut into his fucking skull and take out a piece of his brain, drop it in this little jar, let that little jar fucking dissolve it for a bit, and then he could grab his key and unlock himself. How much time does he have on this? Oh yeah, 3 fucking minutes, bro. And I know I talked about it a little bit before, but the idea behind all of these traps is giving somebody the false idea of hope, because that's what these people did to cancer patients. They told these people that they were going to be able to live if they gave them $200,000. So John is kind of scamming them back in a way. Hypothetically, they can survive these traps. I mean, we did see Diego survive his trap. What confuses me about this theme is John Kramer isn't the one to set up unwinnable traps. I mean, he even scolded Amanda like mere moments before his death for killing Adam in the first movie. But I guess it's a bit more forgivable because these guys have done like a way worse thing than Adam. It does come off a little bit more spiteful and revengeful, I guess. But anyway, Mateo doesn't survive. The trap closes on his head. It has like this mask thing. It's like a Mayan design on the mask. It's pretty cool looking, TBH. But it's the least gory of the movie, so I'm gonna say it sucks. Like, come on, there's not even blood that like pours down out of the mask. It's just him sitting there with like smoke going behind it, and he's sitting there going like, whoa, whoa. Come on, this is a Saw movie. I didn't think this was baby playtime hour, okay? After Mateo dies, they start up Gabriella's trap. And Gabriella's trap is her being hung up, one arm like this, her other leg being hung up like that, so she's like sitting there like this, and she has to grab a sledgehammer and literally break off either her wrist or her ankle, or else a radiation machine that is sitting right in front of her is going to melt her fucking skin off and burn her eyeballs. So what does Gabriella do? She starts fucking smashing. But shout out Cecilia because she points out, hey yo, don't break your arm first, break your leg so you could just swing out of the way of the radiation gun. So she does that, but then in a beat of dark comedy, the radiation machine just goes, and then the music starts up again, and it's like, oh no! But then she ends up sledgehammering her wrist and gets free. And after she breaks out of that trap, John and Amanda untie Parker to go get Gabriella and get her to a hospital because she survived the trap. So all three of them go down to try to help Gabriella when the first twist of the movie happens. Turns out Parker and Cecilia, they are making out, their boyfriend and girlfriend, and she called him actually. Parker, who managed to get the gun behind John's back, ends up pointing both of them at gunpoint. He's like, you guys go over there, with his stupid little accent. And this whole time while they're having their little like scream killer reveal moment type vibe, John is just like, dude, we need to get Gabriella to the fucking hospital. Like, this is unfair. She won. She literally broke her ankle and her fucking wrist. And this is when Cecilia turns full fucking heel, bro. She puts her foot on the back of Gabriella's neck and fucking snaps it, killing her. And honestly, Cecilia's character from this point on is one of my favorites of the movie because somehow they managed to make a foil for John. They actually managed to make John look like a good guy in comparison to this evil, wicked fucking woman, bro. And there's another twist that's revealed here, which is that Cecilia knows John Kramer's Jigsaw, which this twist doesn't really make sense, and they don't even really bother to explain it. At what point did she realize that John was Jigsaw? Like, anytime before the procedure? No, she fucking didn't. How would you know? Because at that point, you would be beating the cops at their own fucking job. The only reason that the cops found out who Jigsaw was is because Saw 2. He directly added a fucking cop, that's why. So I refuse to think Cecilia just figured out. But if she found out in the trap, it's like, why is this being treated like a twist? Like, obviously, bitch, okay, you woke up in a fucking death trap. Who do you think put you there? Fucking Santa Claus? Old Saint Nick? No, it's Jigsaw, okay? After that stupid twist, they decide to put John Kramer into one of his own traps. When I first saw this, it made me go insane and also made me ask, why didn't I ever think about that? But for this trap, you basically need a second person. It's like a seesaw. It's like a big old seesaw. And I'm pretty sure they start to like put Amanda in, but they hear this like little pounding sound that's happening on the building outside. Cecilia ends up going out to see who it is, and you're not gonna like who it is. Not only are they putting 81-year-old Tobin Bell in a fucking trap for the first time, but they're also putting the kid Carlos from the beginning of the movie in the fucking trap. And the kid does a pretty decent performance. I mean, he's not like a great actor. And one of his acting decisions that I really liked was when he first sees the trap, he immediately turns around and covers his eyes and tries to leave, and Cecilia has to stop him. It's such an honest kid reaction. I was like, no fucking way they're gonna put this kid in a fucking trap. But they do. They strap them both to the seesaw trap. John looks at the kid, and in a cute little callback, he tells him don't pull in Spanish. Amanda's forced to start the trap, I'm pretty sure. And when it starts, it lifts off the ground, and one part just immediately goes, and then there's just blood and fucking gore and viscera just piling on John Kramer's face right now. And during this scene, when all the blood and guts is spilling all over John's face, the blood looks like pitch black. It's way too dark. And at first I was a little mad at it because I was like, oh, this looks stupid. It doesn't even look like, you know, blood. Like, what is this supposed to be? I suspect it's because they wanted to get an R rating and they're already pushing it by having a kid be in this movie, but also dumping blood, guts, and viscera on that kid's face might have pushed it a little too far. The trap is sitting like this. John is just fucking taking it. And Carlos realizes that there's a little lever by his hand that he can pull. So Carlos decides to pull it. And when he does, the trap teeters towards him. Viscera, blood all over his little fucking kid face. He is being waterboarded with fucking gore right now. And as soon as John realizes what Carlos is doing, he just pulls it his direction. And oh my God, this scene is so good. And I understand a lot of people think it's cheap to just throw a kid in a situation because it's an easy way to get an emotional reaction from people. I get that. But I think the fact that Carlos is so defiant of John in this scene is very characteristic of the type of kid he is. The fact that he is scared, he doesn't know what's going to happen, but doesn't want John to die is so fucking cute. And you can't convince me otherwise. It's just such a good fucking plot beat, okay? It's such a good character moment. I don't give a fuck that the character wasn't really all that deep, you know what I mean? And I'm not gonna take away from it because it amounts to a good scene. And yeah, this fight between John and Carlos goes on for like a beat or two where they're just pulling the lever to each side, not letting the other one fully go through it. Carlos is showing some like human reaction to seeing a kid get guts and blood poured on his fucking face, but Cecilia's like, honestly, I don't fucking care. Do you want to go get the money or what? But once they do and pull it out of its little hiding spot, Hello Zepp starts playing. And I don't know about you guys, right? When I saw this movie, it was like me and 10 other people. When this fucking hopped on, I was the only one throwing ass in the fucking aisle. And it shows that John knew Parker was a part of the con the whole time. The bag doesn't have any money in it. It only has like these documents that expose Cecilia for scamming everybody. And then the fucking room locks down. We get red light and a poison gas starts filling the room. And I understand that a lot of people see it as a plot hole that John wouldn't expect Cecil to call 911 or somebody else to get their phone and call 911. But you have to remember that these guys were scamming cancer patients for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I'm pretty sure they wouldn't call 911 immediately. But anyway, the trap starts. There's only one hole for only one person to stick their head out at a time. So Cecilia stabs Parker, fucking kills him, saves herself, which was foreshadowed by John literally saying, you know she's gonna kill you, right? And Cecilia sticks her little head out the window. But Amanda gets all three of them out of the trap, and they're walking out as Cecil's like, you can't leave me in here, John. And the movie ends with John, Amanda, and Carlos walking into the sunset. And I'm pretty sure John gives Carlos all of the money because, you know, he deserves it after seeing that shit. Oh my God. And there is a mid-credit sequence that has
Detective Hoffman.
and that scene also rounds out everybody who was involved with the scam, as it's shown that Henry from the beginning of the movie was lying and lied about the scar. John's like, I want to play a game. And he starts off this little trap that has like knives and shit on his tummy. And then the movie actually ends after that point. And that was Saw X. I think a heavy improvement over just about every single sequel in the whole franchise. Watching me explain this movie doesn't do it any favors. I'm telling you, you have to watch it. I'm cutting out stuff. I'm cracking jokes. I'm not taking it seriously. But when you watch somebody actually try to act sincere through these emotions, it's pretty good. This movie adds so much depth to the character of John Kramer and Amanda Young. It fleshes out the relationship so well. Like if this movie was actually a direct sequel to Saw, it would completely change the trajectory for Saw franchise, you know what I mean? Because it would be way more focused on the inner dilemma of John Kramer, where John Kramer sees this side of him, the Jigsaw side of him, as a bad thing, and he wonders if he's doing the right thing. As soon as John is out of the operation and thinks that he actually has cancer gone, he almost stops being Jigsaw. You see him sketching out the reverse bear trap and he tears it out of his fucking notebook and throws it away. And I think that if there was a sequel to this movie, not the actual sequels that came out, but like a sequel in the same style of this movie, you would definitely just follow up with John and how he bounces between wanting to do this and wanting to not do it. And also the relationship with Amanda, the way that she follows him and the way that she gets guidance from him and the way that he actually cares about what's going on with her and wants her to be okay. It's genuinely compelling. And all this character stuff is simply not in any other Saw movie. So that's why in my little head, I think this movie is better than the original Saw because of the way it goes in depth with its characters. Also, the theme of the trap in this one is just fucking on point, man. The lack of a cop plot really speeds up the pace of the movie. I mean, this is the longest Saw movie, but you could have tricked me. Because if we're being honest, the cop plot of each Saw movie just makes us kind of retread shit we already knew or shit we've already seen, so it can stop feeling like a Saw horror movie sometimes and just feel like a straight up medical drama. But Saw X is a great movie. I definitely give it like an 8 out of 10. This is the only Saw movie that after I first watched it, I was like, dude, I have to check it out again. And I'm probably gonna check it out again when it hits streaming. I'm not gonna go and waste my AMC Stubs membership on another viewing of Saw, okay? I gotta watch The Exorcist, which I'm actually doing tonight, the night that I filmed this. Hopefully, I could get this video completely done and edited by Friday. It's Thursday while I record this. But anyway, that brings me to the end of the video. Have you seen Saw X? What did you think of it? Are you a fan of the Saw franchise? Why or why not? Tell me down below. I'm very interested to see like newcomers of this franchise. What's your opinion on this? But anything and everything Saw related, let's talk about it. I'm definitely going to be hoping that people are in the comments and it's not just me talking to myself. But anyway, have a nice night. Bye.